when the 88 shoots, you can hear it, and it'll go, whoosh, 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 and you can hear it. Boy, when you hear that noise, you better duck. Born in Coyote Pass, California, September 18th, 1924.
Wow. Now, you went to school with someone famous, didn't you?
Yes, her name was Norma Jean Baker, was turned out to be Marilyn Monroe. She quit school about the 10th grade.
Did you know her well?
That's where she blossomed out.
Did you know her well?
No, I didn't know her well. She was next to me in the homeroom, and I think it was English.
Okay. Were you surprised when she became that famous?
No, I didn't think nothing about it.
Didn't think anything about it. Well, so if you were born in 1924, you're 17 years old when Pearl Harbor is attacked.
Yes.
What are you thinking?
I was roller skating with a fellow named Chuck Fine, and we said to Chuck, I said, boy, they're going to get something kicked in there. And I roller skated home and told my dad about it, and he says, well, we better be careful and watch what you're doing.
Right, of course, because you're Japanese. So did it make you immediately fearful?
I didn't feel that way because I was a kind of a rogue Oriental, or I didn't think about that because I was mostly fooling around with Caucasian boys. But the rest of my brothers and my sister were all Japanese Americans, and they went to Japanese school and everything, but I didn't do it.
Okay.
I didn't.
All right. So what was your reaction when your family was sent to an internment camp?
Well, I was a little guy, so I didn't feel bad seeing like I say, seeing a machine gun follow me back and forth until we got on the bus and things like that. I didn't think that, but I thought it was exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, I thought, because when the young fellows nowadays, they don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right. What was it like living in the internment camp?
I still had a lot of fun. It was just two of us, and we dug under we followed the spotlights. When it would go and get dark, or when it come back, we'd know when it go, and we'd start digging, and we'd dig under the barbed wire and went up toward the mountains. Had a little river there, and we made a little puddle where during summer we can jump in there when they don't know it. It was pretty good.
All right. So, how long were you there in the camp?
No, not quite a year.
Okay. Did that impact your decision at all to join the service?
No, I wanted to finish school, which I did, and then I joined the service. I had a brother in the service when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. If you know history very well, President Roosevelt said anybody can join the service and then get out in a year. And so my brother Frank and Jack flipped for it, and my brother Jack lost, so he had to go into the service. But he went into MIS, which is Military Intelligence Service for the Japanese-Americans.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and then the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and then we got caught going into the camps.
So when did you join the Army?
What was that?
When did you join the Army?
Joined the Army in June 1944.
Okay.
Right out of school.
Where did you train?
Trained in Camp Blanding, Florida.
Okay. And at that point you were attached to the 442nd?
Yes.
Okay. Which is the all-Japanese unit.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And how long before you were sent to Europe?
Let's see, June, July, August, September.
Oh, that was pretty quick.
Yeah, well, the basic training had to be real rough and had to learn real fast.
Right, right. Where did they send you in Europe at first?
Went to France.
And where in France?
Just south of, can't think of the name of that town anyway. We were just south of that town from, see, beginning of September, no, October, November. Well, end of December, I volunteered for. September, I volunteered to go into the paratroopers.
Right, right.
And then they accepted me.
We'll get to that in just a moment. So when you got to Europe, so it's the fall of 1944, D-Day had just happened a couple months earlier. The breakout had happened, had just happened.
And then
how much optimism was there that this was going to be over fairly soon?
Well, I didn't feel none of that. I just continued going, and I didn't feel no bad feelings.
Okay. Were you in combat with the 442nd?
Yes, stayed there behind as a anti-aircraft.
Okay. What was that like, your first combat?
Well, it's not rough. It wasn't rough for me. It may be rough for because we were the rear echelon, and shells would come in, but not that bad.
How did you hear about the paratroopers? Why did you decide to volunteer for them?
The reason I wanted to transfer into the paratrooper is I wanted to go into the aviation when I first got into it. So the only way I can get close to the aviation is jumping out of airplanes. So I volunteered, and they accepted me.
Excellent. Okay, so September 1944 was the operation in Holland.
Right, I didn't get there.
You weren't there then, but they obviously
came back.
They did not succeed. So what was the morale like when you joined them?
The morale was always high in the 101st Airborne Division.
Okay.
The morale never was low. It's always great, regardless of the casualties that I didn't see. But from there, we were trucked into Bastogne.
And so that's the Bulge.
That was the Bulge.
It's late 1944, and the Germans are basically desperate for a major punch westward.
We went in there, and a fellow named Jim Brown, who was alive, he's my mentor, and he says, remember this name, Bastogne, because we're going to make history. But we didn't think nothing about it. And then we were fought there and were surrounded, and we did make history, the 101st there.
You most certainly did. What did you know about the mission at that point when you first started?
I didn't know nothing. Just
nothing?
No. Just went into the forest there and started snowing. It had about 4 feet of snow, the most worst winter that Belgium had.
Freezing cold, right?
Yes. Most of the people, they think that they died of gunshot wounds or something, but most of the troopers froze to death.
How did you deal with that?
Well, like I said, Mr. PFC, Pee Wee Martin showed us how to dig a foxhole and chop down a tree and put it on there, and then not sleep in the bottom because the snow and the water would go in the bottom, and I would sleep on top of it, see. But most of the troops didn't understand that, but they slept in the water and they froze to death.
Wow.
Yeah.
We just talked to Pee Wee Martin a couple of years ago. He's an amazing guy.
No, I talked to him yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Because he knew Colonel Cole.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I got on my cell phone and I said, Pee Wee, I got a surprise for you. And he talked and they talked together for a long time. And Pee Wee thanked me, and I said, don't thank me, because I should thank you for what you taught me, which I do say to him every day, every time I call him.
That really did save your life.
Yeah, well, he saved my life by showing me how to live above ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it wasn't above ground, but
above the snow and the water. Yeah. Wow. So, what was the first engagement with the enemy like at Bastogne?
Well, you can see shells go over my head, and you can hear the 88s. The 88, you can never forget it. When the 88 shoots, you can hear it, and it'll go, and you can hear it. Boy, when you hear that noise, you better duck. Yeah.
How close did the combat get?
Well, maybe from here to the wall.
Really?
Yes.
What was that like?
It wasn't scary. You had to just fight for your life.
Was it hand-to-hand at any point?
No, I knew where he was and shot them.
Just a few feet apart, though?
Yeah, and then Christmas time, we sang Silent Night, and the Germans sang Silent Night. We could hear them. And there was no shots until 1 minute after 12. Boy, and then hell broke loose.
Oh, just a little bit of a Christmas respite.
Either side, there was, yeah.
Exactly. So talk about the hell breaking loose. What was that like?
It was pretty rough. And then I got into the church in Bastogne. And I can remember I was laying down, and shell 88 came through and went through the back, and it didn't explode. And the nurse that was there, I met her again 60 years later, but she don't remember the shell, so I just, she must have been someplace else, but she remembers the fighting in that church. In what was here? In Chino.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long, this played out for weeks at Bastogne, correct?
Yes. It did, December. We went out of there January 10th or 12th. We walked out of there.
At what point were you confident that you were going to hold?
There was no confidence.
No confidence?
I didn't. No.
At any point did you think you were going to get broken through?
No. We didn't. We stood fast.
You didn't think about the big picture. You're just thinking about what's in front of you.
Right, you have to.
Exactly.
In Bastogne, while the fighting was happening, a P-47 came down, and the Germans shot him down, and he crash landed near our post, near where we were dug in. So Jim Martin and Mr. Anderson from, I think he's from Arizona, and I was back there. And as he crash landed, the pilot came out, and Pee Wee Martin and the medic saved him, and I helped him. And 60 years later, this gentleman, I went to a reunion, and he tapped me on the back, and nobody taps me on the back, and I swung back, and it hit him. I didn't mean to. And he was a full-bird colonel, Colonel Craig, but at that time he was Lieutenant Craig. And he says, "You don't remember me?" I says, "No." I says, "I don't remember you." He says, "I remember you and two other people saving me." And I said, "Oh, I remember that deal." He says, "I'm the man that the two gentlemen saved, and I'm the one that was driving the vehicles down to Bastogne anyway." He said, you was part of the man that saved my life." And we talked, and then we got to be good friends. Then about a few years later, last year, he passed.
This year.
Oh, this year he passed away.
No, in April.
Well, anyway, he passed away, and then another gentleman called me, and he says, "Are you Mr. Bob Izumi?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "I'm Mr. Craig." I said, "You Colonel Craig?" I said, "No." He said, "No." He says, "I'm Colonel Craig's son. If it wasn't for you and the three gentlemen, I wouldn't be talking to you." So we became good friends and talked.
How does that make you feel?
It made me feel good. It made me feel good, and I told Jim Martin about it, and he said thank you and everything.
That's amazing. A whole legacy, a whole family.
Yeah, well, another one was a little girl when we was marching out of Bastogne. She come and hugged me and everything, and said thank you in Flemish. Not they spoke Flemish, but now they got away from Flemish. They speak all French now. Flemish is a I don't know, it's a different language. So this lady come up to me and gave me a hug and everything, and I pushed her away. I shouldn't have pushed her away, but I didn't. I was wondering, what does she want? Thing, and she said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "No." She said, and then she brought out a picture. "You remember this little girl?" I said, "Yes." She said, "That was me." Yeah, and so every year I went there, she would bring me a great big bunch of poinsettias and said thank you. Yeah, and now she's in a old ladies' home, and she's got Alzheimer's, so she doesn't remember me. Things like that.
So there's two key lessons here, it seems to me. Number one, you never know the impact you have on the legacy of a family afterwards.
Yes, sir.
And secondly, never surprise you.
No. Don't do that.
Oh, but those are great stories. It seems to me, I know I read that you were the only Japanese member of your unit, but from what you've told me so far anyway, it doesn't seem like there was any problem.
No racial problem at all. No.
Did that surprise you at all?
No, I didn't think nothing about it.
Okay, and they didn't think anything of it, obviously.
Because we were fighting, you're not thinking about, oh, there goes a Japanese guy, or there goes a black guy, or something like that.
True, but the service was segregated at the time, so it was a fairly unique situation.
Yeah, right.
So
but they worked with me right along. I didn't, no problems.
Fantastic. What was your reaction when you found out that you had held? The battle was over, and the Allies had held the line at Bastogne.
No, well, the question is kind of rough.
Sorry. What was your reaction when you realized that you had held at Bastogne, that the battle was over and that you won?
Oh, we all marched out. We didn't think nothing about it. Marched out. And from there, we went to the Rhine River. From the Rhine River, we marched up into Hagenau, the last concentration camp. And then from there, we went into Berchtesgaden. And then my officer, Captain Can, said, and Captain Dowdy said, go on down and get me find me a command post. So a guy named Bob Parks and I went down, and I got I commanded a command post, and they came down and took over the house, and we didn't have nothing good to eat for about 2 weeks. So we went up into the Alp Hill there, and I saw we were going to trying to hunt for a deer or something. So I saw a cow there, and I said, I'll shoot the cow, but I can't skin it. But Bob Parker is from Georgia, so he was a farmer, and he knew how to skin it. So he said, well, I'll skin the cow, you shoot it. So I shot the cow, and we took it down, and he skinned it. We had steak. And 60 years later, Captain Can said, I had to pay the burgomaster for the cow. A burgomaster is the mayor, means the mayor. So he said, before I pass away, I want to know who shot the cow. And Bob Parks go like this, and he says, Bob Izumi killed the cow. Well, sir, I said, he skinned it. He said, oh, that's okay. That's all. I just wanted to know. And that's a true story.
Was the steak good?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, the guys didn't have nothing to eat for a long time. We didn't have nothing. We didn't have no K rations with us or nothing.
Wow. You mentioned Hagenau after crossing the Rhine and going to Germany, and the concentration camp there. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I didn't. We liberated the. We didn't liberate. We just were going toward Berchtesgaden, and we went through Hagenau, and we went into the camp. I saw a dead person there. We don't know who. And Captain Can told. I was right of Captain Can, and I forgot the name of the other fellow. Zelensky? Ed Zelinsky or another gentleman. Anyway, he told the gentleman to go find a blanket or or something to cover the gentleman up. But before he did so, he left, and another man came walking out, which was a captain, a Jewish fellow. He came in. He must have known the gentleman that was passed away on the ground, and he opened his mouth, and he took out his teeth and put in his mouth and walked off. I'll never forget that.
That'd be hard to forget.
No, it's hard to forget because I guess he knew what the gold was worth at that time. Yes, and from there we went up to Berchtesgaden.
Hitler's Eagle's Nest.
Yes, we were the first man to go in the Eagle's Nest, and there's a picture of me and a fellow named Aubrey Jackson sitting in the chair, looking out of the window. And people said, "Oh, you weren't there, but you can see it's me sitting in in Hitler's chair." So
did you raid his wine cellar too?
No. Colonel Sink and some of the other fellows went down there and gave the wine cellar, and down in the cellar were barrels of silver, and they took the silver and made silver cups for all the officers that was alive. So after many, many years, after I got out of service, if you ever have that silver cup, it's worth over, somebody will pay you $10,000 for that cup.
Wow.
It's made out of Hitler's coins, and Colonel Sink made the name of all the officers when they jumped on D-Day and everything, inscribed on the silver cup. So I got out of service. Many years later, I found out that Captain Van Aptwerp's niece had this silver cup and all of his pictures of when he joined the service. So I went to Lancaster, California, and knocked on the door, and I said, "I'm so-and-so and so-and-so," and identify myself. He said, "I found out that you have some of Captain Van Amter's items." She said, "Oh, yeah, I was going to throw them away." So he had 2 albums of when he joined the service, and he got killed on D-Day anyway. And she had that cup, and she says, "You can have this cup. I was going to throw it away." And I said, "Well, I'll sign for it because that cup is worth over $5,000 at that time. Over $5,000. Somebody would give him that money." So she said, "Oh, I don't want no money." So I signed a piece of paper and gave it to her, and I took it to Toccoa, and Pee Wee Martin knew Captain Durwood, Van Amtwerp. So he said, "Let me take this." He and I will carry this cup to honor the captain that was killed on D-Day. So we walked up Toccoa Mountain, to Currahee Mountain, and got on top of the mountain where they took training, and we said a prayer for him, and took it back down and put it into the museum, and it's still there.
Tremendous. Where were you when the war officially ended in Europe?
I was in Berchtesgaden.
You're still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then from there, General Taylor told Colonel Sink that we better leave because the snow will be coming. So we all packed up and went to Journay, France, where we all got together, and Colonel Sink brought me into his office, said, "I can't take you to Japan. We're going to go to Japan. I can't take you to Japan because you're Japanese-American." I said, "My brother is over there as MIS." He says, "What's MIS?" He didn't know. I said, "Military Intelligence Service for the Japanese-American fight." So he said, "Oh, I didn't know that." Anyway, days later, the Japanese signed the paper, and then he called me and said, "Well, we're not going anyway." So he says, "Where do you want to go?" I said, high pointers. High pointers mean a fellow that was fought and all that from D-Day all the way to the end were high pointers, and they got to go home early. But I was a low pointer, so he said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, well, "I'd like to go join the 82nd Airborne." And he said, "What?" He said, "The 508th is going to go to Frankfurt, Germany. No, Bad Hamburg, Germany, and start school there and be General Eisenhower and General Patton and General McNarty's honor guard." So I said, "I'd like to go there then." So I went there and I was General Patton's honor guard. And I was there when he was hit in his weapons carrier. And then from there they took him to the 97th General Hospital. From there they took him to
Luxembourg.
Huh?
Luxembourg. Luxembourg.
Luxembourg. See, I'm getting kind of old. And that's where he passed away.
Yeah.
And his burial ground is there.
That's right. What was he like?
Wonderful man. He would always, when I stand guard, he would stop and say, "How's everything going?" And he said, "If it's bad, let me know." Things like that. He was, but people say he was a bad general, but I thought he was a wonderful man.
Troops loved him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So when did you finally get home?
Got home in late 47, I guess.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you were also in the Korean War, correct?
Yes.
With what unit then?
I was down there with the communications unit and in Kunsan, Korea. And a guy named Sergeant Willoughby and I would go inside where we found out that the Korean ladies didn't want their babies, and they would take them into the castle. I mean, in a cave. But we would go in there and get the babies out, and take them to we made the Shingon orphanage. And then Park Jong-hee, the president, came down and gave me the medal of no, gave me the anyway, some kind of medal, some kind of humanitarian award.
Uh-huh.
But I don't need that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you see combat in Korea?
Yes, not combat. Just I was behind the
communications.
lines.
Okay. And Vietnam?
Vietnam, I was a communications specialist on the Mekong River, and I saw General Stewart, Jimmy Stewart, fly out of our base twice. And I off duty, I would go with the. I don't think there were SEALs. There were patrol boats along the Mekong River and go up and down the river. Mm-hmm. And it was. I saw the Dragon ship. You know what the Dragon ship is?
No.
It's a C-47 with 20 millimeter guns on side, shooting down, and things like that. It was.
And you saved a pilot there too.
Oh yeah. Well, I saved the pilot there. It's all right.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that. That sounds
Well,
like a pattern now. You saved one in...
The pilot went down, and I knew where he was. So at that time, you had to go through Vietnamese village chief to get the okay to go in there. So why was we there if I can't go get that pilot down? So I had to contact my CO. Went to see him. He said, "You can't go there if the village chief said no." So we went back to place and hit the button, and went with the Huey and got him out. And I got reprimanded, and and as I got reprimanded, a few months later, he comes and he said, gives me the Bronze Star. I said, "What's the Bronze Star for?" He said, "For help in saving that pilot." I said, "You told me I couldn't do it." And he says, "I'll get you for disobeying an order." I said, "Why are we there? Well, technically, why are we there?" See, it doesn't say that we're at war. But we're there, but we can't do that unless the government, the Vietnamese government says, I can do it. It was a vicious war.